we've been really involved in farming institutions, which is beyond the elementary and high school. It's hospitals, colleges, corporate eating, and universities. And so we're just finishing up a research project right now. But the distinction with the farming institution is that they have more flexibility in price points compared to farm to school. And they also the research tends to focus a little more on the distribution networks and supply chains and infrastructure, I think, more than the farm to school research has done. So I just wanted to, there is a beginning published research on some of this work. Some of the best, actually, that looks at the entire supply chain are some of these studies. Good work done in Colorado with, basically it's more farm to restaurants, but other institutions in addition. And the Montana work, there's a suite of studies in Montana that have been done on farm to institution that you definitely need to take a look at. Betty Izumi just finished her dissertation in the Midwest looking at farm to institution, farm to school in the Midwest and Northeast. Vanessa has online published the research in California, the LA basin distribution models, and then we just finished a 2-year study looking at farm to institution in California from the point of view of farmers, distributors, food service buyers, and students. So this Tapping the Potential study, I just want to quickly tell you a couple of conclusions from that. Here, this is the distribution models that we're talking about. Maybe I should skip this one. We're trying to get a handle on what these things meant because it was so darn complex. And the big fat error was the way that mostly it's working, okay? And we're trying to look at those little blue squares on the top, which somebody yesterday said benevolent brokers. We're calling them non-profit allied distributors, basically. Because those are the ones that are mainly working with small to mid-scale family farmers. But then there's also some work with the general produce distributors that work with school food service as well. And they all interrelate with each other. So the idea is, how do we figure out distribution systems that take advantage of local, healthy, sustainably produced food and move it through the system in ways that it's sort of not lost within the big black hole of the distribution system, and everybody gets to maintain their value. So a couple of our things. So what we found in the study, and I'm just going to do a couple of little slides here, there's a lot more, but that really almost half of colleges and universities surveyed either have a local produce buying program or are starting one. So that's way more than we'd expected. Nearly 70% of the buyers thought that quality was a big reason for why they should be part of these programs, and 60% of the buyers mentioned supporting the local economy, which I really did not think that that would be part of what was interesting them. The major barriers are, of course, a business as usual attitude. It's just really difficult to, the low price, the convenience, the contract and bidding regulations, it's difficult to get beyond that in many cases. And then there's the logistical delivery system challenges. I know many of you are well aware of those. And the significant education that's needed on the term sustainable. Now, who were we talking to right before the, Corey, right? We were talking about how do we define local? How do we define sustainable is another one. There's a whole variety of ways out there, and we need to be trying to come to a consensus on some of that. So what are we doing to tap this potential? And in the distribution, one of our conclusions is that we really do need to work more intentionally with those nonprofit allied distributors that are emerging really, at least in California, and I know that they're in the South, they're in the Midwest as well, those are the ones that are really bringing the small to mid-scale family farm produce into the system. Yet there's a lot of room to work with those regional and general produce distributors as well. I just read yesterday that CAF, the Community Alliance with Family Farmers in California, has got a new relationship with one of the general produce, JC, which is one of the general produce distributors in California. So there's interesting relationships going on. And working with broadliners such as Cisco is also a possibility, although there are challenges associated with that. And then how about in education? We could be creating more curriculum for the chefs and the buyers, where they're just learning how to do these things around procurement, particularly in community colleges and in culinary programs. That might be an area that we might want to think about. Also, educational opportunities for food service buyers and in their professional organizations like NACUFs. I think many of you are aware of that. And bringing chefs, food service buyers, distributors, farmers to the table has been incredibly successful strategy. We did it with our program. I know that in EcoTrust you've done it many times up here. You're really a model for the rest of us, and those are incredibly successful events. Farm tours for everyone, not just school children, but also food service buyers, also food service workers. I mean, those kinds of things are very powerful, we found out. Any kind of handbooks, written online materials have been very useful, and creating seasonal availability lists. We've been working with Farm to Hospital quite a bit and Healthcare Without Harm, and they're putting together a seasonal availability menus for across the country, and they're having their food service put these things online so that any food service could get online in their region, find some seasonal menus that they could then download and use for their institutions. So that could be done in other settings as well. So with that, I think unless you have a few little questions, we'll move into a time where you all can discuss some of these ideas at your table.